Today's fairy tale is another Palestinian story that starts like Snow White and is about mean girls and empathetic animals. It's called Jbene. It starts like a lot of fairy tales where a woman wants to have a child and can't. And one day she's in the village and a cheese vendor passes by and says, "You who ask, your wish be granted. May Allah grant you a daughter with a face as white as this piece of cheese." The story tells us Allah spoke with this woman's tongue and she became pregnant and gave birth to a daughter so fair it was like a square of cheese. And she called her Jbene. Obviously, this is similar to Snow White, where she wishes she had a child that was as white as the snow by her window and the blood where she pricked her finger. Cheese is actually a very common skin comparison in folktales. There's an Italian story where someone pricks their finger and they bleed on their cheese and they want a child who's blood and cheese. Anyway, Jbene grows up super beautiful and eventually all of the other girls in the village get jealous. So one day they're like, "Hey Jbene, why don't you come pick Dom with us?" Dom is a fruit that comes from the gingerbread tree, a kind of palm that's sometimes called the Dom palm. That's the tree. This is what the fruit looks like. Looks pretty good. This might be the first time they've asked her because she has to go through a lot to say yes. She's like, "You have to ask my mom." So they go to her mother and say, "Oh, Jbene's mother, for the life of Jbene, won't you let her pick Dom with us?" And the mom says, "Go speak with her father." And the father says, "Go speak with her paternal aunt." And then her paternal aunt says, "Go to her maternal aunt." The maternal aunt says, "Okay, you can go pick with them." So Jbene goes out with them, and when they get to the Dom trees, they're like, "Who's gonna climb the tree?" And she's like, "I'll do it." And they're like, "Okay." And so she climbs up the tree, and they're like, "Throw down the fruit to us." And so she does. And they fill all of their baskets with the fruit, but they fill her basket with snails. Like, where are they that there's that many snails? But that's not the only mean thing they do. When the sun starts to set, they just leave. They just abandon her out there. And she apparently is either too scared or unable to come down from the tree. When she doesn't come home, her mother goes to the friends and she's like, "Where's my girl?" And they're like, "Oh, she didn't come with us. I don't know, I haven't seen her." Eventually, a horseman rides by the tree that Jbene is up in, and he's riding a mare specifically, and the mare backs away from the tree in fear. And so the horseman's like, "What's up?" "Oh, there's someone up there." He tells her to come down. She won't because she's scared, but he says, "By Allah, your safety is guaranteed." So she finally comes down. He puts her on his horse and takes her home. In a lot of European fairy tales, he's a prince and they just get married, but that's not what happens in this one. He's just some regular dude who helps her out. Instead of going home, she's either too humiliated because of what these friends did to her, or she's just too mad or upset that she got basically pranked by her entire village and all of her supposed friends. She decides not to go home. And she does what fairy tale heroines do a lot, and she covers herself with dirt and blackness to hide who she is. She gets a job as a servant and is sent out every day to go graze with herds of sheep and camels. But while roaming with the herds, she would cry out, "Oh, birds that fly over mountains high, greet my mother and father and say, Jbene is a shepherdess, sheep she grazes and camels, and rests in the shade of the vine." And then she would cry, the birds would cry, and the sheep and camels would stop grazing and cry with her. Well, these herds belong to the local emir, which is a Muslim, usually Arab leader. And the son of the emir starts to notice that all of their herds are starving because they don't eat. They go out and just cry all day with Jbene. But one day he sneaks out to see what's up and he hears her cry her tale, and then he sees all of the animals weep, and then he himself starts to cry. And he comes up to her, tears streaming down his face, and he's like, "Who are you? What is your story?" She says, "My name is Jbene. This is my story." And she tells it, and she removes the soot that's left from her face after the crying, and behold, she was like the moon. So the son of the emir made her his wife, and they arranged festivities and beautiful nights. He married her, brought her mother and father to stay with her, and the storyteller tells us, "I was there, and I have just returned." No horrible punishments for the mean girls in this story. I guess they just have to live with knowing that Jbene's way higher than them now. So who knows what she's gonna do? I mean, maybe she'll forgive them like heroines often do in these stories, but hopefully they've learned their lesson to not be so mean. As always, check out my book, Dust Spells, a reimagining of the fairy tale, The 12 Dancing Princesses, and my podcast. All the links are in the bio.